So this is our handguard right here, and in this little compartment in our handguard, it's the Diamondhead Advanced Combat System, and I did a separate review on this handguard right here, so check it out. And this is our barrel nut right here. And this is what we're interested in our next one. Is the handguard going close to last. This is where you're going to put your standard AR wrench right here on that part of the nut, and that's our threaded end right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of grease again right on these threads. We'll take out the bolt carrier group for now. You don't need that in there. And we will put a little bit of right on those threads. Because it's going to be steel on aluminum, so a little bit, that's not going to hurt. We're going to give it a little spray of Rem oil. Just a little bit. There we go. Just an 8. And then we'll wipe off the excess. And we got our Wilson Combat barrel right here. And if you folks have been paying attention, I did a separate review on this barrel, and we're going to do some accuracy testing with this. So this is basically it right here. This is the Wilson Combat 300 Blackout barrel. Wilson Combat 300 Blackout 1 and 8 twist. You can see the dimple right there for our gas block, and there's our gas port right there. And this is the Recon barrel weight right here, and they call it like the mid-weight. It's not a lightweight and it's not a heavy barrel, but I mean it's definitely got some mass to it. I think the weight on this was 36 ounces, and the lightweight one I believe is 29, so you shave 7 ounces off. And they also made this barrel fluted too, the same barrel profile, and that would help probably dissipate heat a little bit better because you have more surface area. But it was also, I think it was another $70, and this barrel I believe was $260, $265. So we'll go ahead and we will put this on. So the barrel nut, we'll go over that end. That's it. And we're going to dry fit it. As you can see right here in the upper receiver, we've got a little groove right there. And that groove is going to fit this little pin on the barrel right there. Put a little lube on here too. Teflon, that's not going to hurt anything. We're going to go ahead and swab the barrel once too before we shoot any live ammo through this. So, yep. Yeah, it's tight, and that's the way it should be. So you can see that's a fantastic fit right there. You had to put a little muscle to squeeze that together, but that's on there. And then the next thing we're going to do is put that barrel nut on there. And we'll just go hand tight for now. So that's hand tight on there. And then we have to torque it, and now you have to look up the torque specs right now, but as you can see we are coming together. Next thing I wanted to point out too, hopefully this will come out on camera, was looking at the feed ramps right there. You can see that they're perfectly aligned with the barrel's feed ramps and the receiver, and those are M4 cuts right there. And all that, those are really actually for fully automatic fire, just aid in feeding. When the spring's really coming up rapidly, because the cyclical rate of these AR-15s is extremely fast. But I really like the fit and finish of how this Wilson is going right into this upper right there. I'm really excited about that. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to rock it. The other thing to note about this installation is that your standard AR-15 armorer's wrench right here, this is your part for the barrel nut. This is not a standard barrel nut right here. That is the Diamondhead barrel nut. So this is useless for putting that on. That is calling for a 1 1/4 inch wrench right there. So I finished installing the barrel here on the upper receiver. And basically all I did was purchase this 1 1/4 inch wrench right here. And I figured it was good to have. The standard AR tool right here, because this barrel nut is not the standard barrel nut, As you can see, the other one has like holes in there, and there's corresponds, but this is a different one for that Diamondhead handguard. It needed a wrench on here, so basically what I did to install this barrel nut, so you can see we got a good clean fit on there. I put my wrench on the barrel nut, and then I borrowed vice blocks from Paul down at Cragen's, who's very nice to help me out, and I clamped this barrel as hard as I could in a bench vise, and I wrapped a piece of cloth around it, just a thin piece of cloth, so I wouldn't mar this Wilson Combat barrel, and 2 aluminum bench blocks, and just squeezed it in there as hard as I could. And I did get twisting on the barrel, but you know, I had to basically ended up putting all my force into the vise, and then got my wrench, and I'm guessing I've got about 50 pounds of torque, maybe 55 pounds of torque on that nut right there, so we're in good shape. And you know, the directions called for anywhere from 35 to 80, so we're right in the middle of that, so I'm happy with that. And then we're going to keep that wrench, so if we have any problems in the future, we can go back to that barrel nut, but I think it'll be okay. You know, this gun I don't think is a gun that'll see thousands of rounds of ammo through it, just because this ammo is expensive. Also because I can't bring this gun to New York with me, so this is going to be in Vermont, so you know, it'll see a few thousand throughout its lifetime. I don't think it'll be anything crazy. So we've got the barrel on with the barrel nut, and our next job is to put our gas system on right here. And as you see, I have a Spikes Tactical 3/4 inch low profile gas block, or they call it tactical micro block. But basically this block is designed to fit under a handguard right there, and that's the whole concept of it. So it's going to be as close to the barrel as you can. Basically this one has 2 Allen heads right here, and the barrel is 1, but as you can see, that's going to line up pretty well right there with that, with the second Allen, you know, closest to the upper receiver. And the other thing you're going to want to have, and I have everything laid out here pretty well, is some Loctite right here. So we have some blue Loctite right here. They also have the red. The red's is Super Duty stuff. I think the blue will be just fine for this. And then we have our Allen wrench out here, 3/32, but it could be different on other gas blocks. So that's good. We've already pre-fitted. It fits on there. The next thing we have is our gas tube, and this is another Spikes Tactical mil-spec carbine length gas tube, and it is stainless steel with a, I believe it's a melanite coating on it. So this is another nice piece right there from Spikes. And the other thing that we got 2 of it's redundant are the little push pins right here. We have one in this big bag right here, our little roll pins. We got another roll pin here. That's basically to put through that hole right here in the gas block. So we will put, so this lines up, yeah, there we go. That first hole, if you can see it, yeah, right here forward, that's for the roll pin. And that bottom hole is for the gas block. So what we'll do is we'll insert those together until we get a good alignment. There we go, there's our good alignment right there. And that'll be it, and then we'll just press fit with a pair of channel locks. We'll press fit that in there, and that'll be our gas system. So what we'll do now is we'll just go ahead and we'll dry fit everything and see what it looks like, because this is something you don't want to mess up and something you don't want to go back and have to fix. So there we got our block on right there. We'll just take our, we'll get the gas tube in there. And other thing to notice is I have removed our charging handle right there to give us a little more room to play with. So that's basically our system right here, and I can already see that lining up pretty nicely. Yeah, so I think we're in pretty good shape right here. So let's go ahead and we will press that roll pin in place for our gas system. We'll get that tube in there. So this was quite difficult, but we have our gas tube pinned into our gas block right here, and as you can see, we're all lined up. Basically what I did was, this is quite difficult with the ARs, I put a little piece of electrical tape on the back side of it so I wouldn't mar it and then had my little channel locks, and then I pressed the pin in right there. I basically got the pin started, and that's the hardest part, is to get it started, and then put the gas tube in, lined it up, and then pushed it through. So the other thing I used to cheat a little bit was this grease right here. I made a little ball of grease right on the top there to hold the pin, and that got it in there. So that's a wrap right there. And actually I think I'm going to push that pin down a little bit more into it. But that was quite difficult. But you can use needle nose pliers or a file to get the final, to get that in, you know, finally all the way. But that's a wrap right there. So we'll go ahead and we'll install this on the rifle right now. All right, so we've taken one of our Allen bolts out of the receiver right here, and we will go ahead and install our gas block and our gas tube. So that's going to, we've already verified, we've dry fitted a couple times, and we've verified that our pin lines up. So what we'll do is you can see our hole right there and our dimple in the barrel, and you can see the dimple right there, and I can see it lining through right there, so you can pick that up on the camera. Yeah, so that's that. That looks good. And we're going to go ahead, and this is a piece I would definitely use Loctite on. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a drop of Loctite on that, our little plug right there. You don't need much. There you go, we're firm, and then what I'll do, put it on the end and I'll get some torque on it. So we'll go ahead and we'll back out this second one, and we will Loctite this, and that just sits on the barrel. So it's the rear one doing all the work in the dimple and making sure your gas system stays aligned. So again, we're going to put a drop of Loctite on there. Yeah, I can see the different heights between the Allen bolts right here. So that means our rear one is definitely sitting in our dimple right here, and that's it. That's our complete. That's a hard part right there. So again, with these ARs, these roll pins, they and there's a lot of them in these things, especially in that lower receiver. They're pretty stubborn and they are difficult to get in, and an excellent thing to fat finger up. So let's go ahead and install the handguard now. So we're going to install right now the handguard right there, and that's the Diamondhead handguard. But first we are going to put on our flash suppressor, and right here we have just a regular A2 30 caliber 7.62 flash suppressor, pretty standard stuff. I decided to go with this one. I don't know a ton about flash suppressors, and a lot of them are running about $100. This was $15, so since I don't know a ton about these, I decided just to stick with a 15, and these are tried and true. There's nothing wrong with these units. So we'll go ahead and we will install our crush washer. And I already dry ran this a couple times to see what this looks like, because basically you're crushing down the washer, and that's going to keep tension on your muzzle device so it doesn't unscrew itself. So it's all kind of, you know, pressurized when it's on there. One of the ways it needed to go on about 270 more degrees, and this way it's just a little less than 180. So that's what we're looking for right here, is the least amount of turning. We're going to try to crush that steel washer. So the tools we're going to use is, we'll move the handguard for now. We have our AR-15 armorer's wrench right here, and then we have our big 1 1/4 inch wrench, and this big 1 1/4 inch wrench is going to go right here on our barrel nut, and then our armorer's wrench is going to go on our muzzle device. Oh yeah, this is going to be interesting to see if we can get this around enough. You can feel that washer crushing. So we just finished putting on our birdcage, A2 birdcage flash hider right there, and basically I made a mark right there with a Sharpie. You can barely see it, but it's on there. And then we made a corresponding 2 dots on the barrel just to get our center line on there. And basically I had used the big 1 1/4 inch wrench and the AR's armor tool right here, to the fat one, to put on the flash hider. and it worked quite well. So it's on there and we're centered, so we're ready to go. So the last step of this AR upper install will be the handguard. And we went for the Diamondhead handguard right here, and this is ultra cool. And I just like the ergonomics of it. That it just felt very well, fit very well in the hand. And you can see that it has all these extra bolt holes in the handguard to put on extra pieces of Picatinny rail to, you know, to mount flashlights and lasers and hand grips and all that kind of stuff onto it. So we're going to go ahead and install this right now. And one good thing about putting your muzzle brake on after the gas, your gas block, is that we're able to put the big wrench on the barrel nut and then the armor's wrench on there, and that way we were able to get good leverage, you know, and tighten everything up the way it should be. So let's go ahead and slide this on. And this handguard has two little dimples right there, and those are to line it up with the upper receiver. So we'll go ahead and slide it on there. Micro gas block fits, which is excellent. So we will go ahead and see our screws, our bolts go from this side right here, yeah. So, and I just put a little bit of our gun grease on these. Since these are steel bolts going into an aluminum handguard, I figured a little bit of grease isn't going to hurt those. So we'll go ahead. So then we have our 3/32 wrench right here. Go ahead and start screwing those in. And the way that works, there's two grooves in that barrel nut, and these two bolts right here correspond with those two grooves. So that way that will stop the handguard from pulling off forward, and then the pressure of these will clamshell the aluminum together, and that will keep the handguard on. And as soon as we start getting these tight, what I'll do is I'll just take my fingers, and where these two pieces of Picatinny rail meet, just make sure you have a good fit right there. And I will go ahead and start tightening these. And the nice thing about the muzzle device that I'm using it right now for is it protects the barrel, and that's a big plus. The seam feels good, so you can see how the whole Picatinny rail lines up right here on that handguard, so that's pretty slick. And that's basically our finished upper right there. And I like that look right there, and I definitely am really excited to shoot this and see what kind of accuracy you can pull from here. So we'll just go over quickly. We have our charging handle right here. Go ahead and give this one last coat of my favorite stuff, Rem oil. And I've already put a coat of oil on this, but for final assembly right here, we'll probably shoot this sometime tomorrow. Break in that barrel. Put that in a little bit. And then we will put in our bolt carrier group. And this is, we've already oiled this up. And we've put some Rem oil on this, as you've seen earlier. And when you install the bolt carrier in the upper receiver, make sure the bolt is out. So, since we've got the whole thing together, and this is the first time doing this, we're going to go ahead and snap this together. And this is the easy part, and the real fun part is just push out your little push pins right there, your disassembly pins. And, you know, our dimples hold those in there. We'll go ahead and we'll mount it up there. There's the rear one, there's the front one. And there is our completed AR-15 right there, chambered in 300 blackout. And that should run right. So let's just get a final look right here. And that's our PMag, 30 round PMag. And remember, this is identical to a 5.56 gun. The only difference in this is the barrel. But all the magazines for 5.56, you see this PMag right there, it says 5.56 right there, and it is empty. The only difference in this rifle right here is the barrel. Everything else is the same as the 5.56 configuration. So that's it right there. Let's pull this back and let's get a full look at that rifle. There we go. So that's it right there. That is Mr. 300 Blackout AR-15 right there, and I'm definitely happy with that look. And that's what I was shooting for, and that's our completed rifle right there. But you know, we'll bring some. You know, we're gonna get out and we're gonna shoot it. We're gonna mount an optic on it. But thanks for watching, folks. And if you like this video series, give me a thumbs up. Feel free to post questions.